Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Tony Plays The Binding of Isaac. Hope everyone's doing all right. Hope everyone's going about their day nice and lovely. You know how it is. You know what it do. I myself am doing pretty okay. Kind of just really like chilling, killing, you know. Going about my day nice. Ooh, Spoonbender off riff is very good. Going about my day nice and lovely. You know how it is. You know how it be. Hope everyone's doing all right. I'm doing pretty okay myself. Give me a moment. My brother was literally just here yesterday, and I think he has calibrated some settings on my monitor. Give me a moment. My apologies. Just had to configure that slightly. It's looking fine now, solid. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think my brother, he came to visit me yesterday, and he was using the Xbox, my Xbox. And when he was using it, I think he might have configured the monitor to do HDR, like full HDR or whatever. So my game looks a little freaky right now. It's like very, like, you know, like if you've ever used HDR, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Like the colors are popping out like crazy hard. And it looks a little weird, to be completely honest with you. It looks a little kind of strange to look at. Not bad by any means, honestly. I think it kind of looks nice, but you know, just kind of not really what I'm used to. Anyways, hope everyone's doing all right. You know, kind of speaking on that, went to go see Thunderbolts yesterday, and I'm gonna be honest, I did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty solid. If I were to rate it, I would give it like a freaking what? Honestly, I think I'd give it like a solid 7.5 out of 10, you know? It wasn't necessarily peak cinema kino or whatever, but I didn't think it was bad. It was a C plus, I'd say. 7.5 out of 10, 100%. 7.5 nearing an 8 out of 10. Because I think it was I'd say solid to say. It's just like a C plus movie. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. And it was a good time going to like spend time with my brother to watch movies. Because, to be honest, feels like we haven't had a lot of time to do that in recent memory. But it is what it is, you know? It's kind of mainly just due to the fact that he's moved out. I've stayed here, so we don't often get to see each other too much. But whenever we do, it's fun, you know. I enjoy spending time with my family. I think it's great. I think it's awesome, and it kind of leads into something slightly that I was talking about. Or you know, I was talking to my brother about this yesterday, and mainly just asking me, you know, oh, how's it going? You know, since mom and dad aren't home right now, and I'm just like, I'm chilling, you know. I'm doing fine. I'm cool. Kind of lonely though, you know. Kind of speaking on what I was mentioning in the relationships episode. It's kind of lonely at the place, considering I'm used to speaking to someone at least throughout the day, but right now it's literally silence, kind of 24/7. It's just like it gets a little lonely. It gets kind of like, you know. Not really much to do. And honestly, this past week, I guess you could say this past week and a half of experience or whatever has been real eye-opening to me. Because when I moved out, you know, story time, I moved out of my parents' place about like a year and a half back at this point. Ended up having to move back in though because the place I moved out to had a cat, and I did not know how severe my cat allergy was until I started living there. But like, I'm talking, I was breaking out bad. My skin was looking terrible, itched all the time, and you know, stuffy nose, running, whatever. Like I was just eyes always red, which sucks for me because if you're not aware, I've had eye issues in the past. If you have if you're on this channel and you don't necessarily know what my eye issues are, don't worry. I'm not like, oh, how do you not know? I don't expect people to know, but I've recounted this story enough times, and no hate against telling the story, truth be told. I actually kind of enjoy telling the story. However, it's not the point of today's episode. So if you really want to know, I believe, I don't know the number, but in my playlist, there's an episode titled like about trauma or like eye trauma or something like that. Just watch that episode and you'll understand the whole story with my eye, you know? But anyways, my eyes are good now. I see, you know, I'm not blind or anything, but I do have to take very good care of my left eye due to the incident that happened a while back. And essentially what I'm talking about here is moved out of my parents' place, lived with the cat, you know, live with my roommate and the cat, and I didn't realize how bad shit got, so I was like, all right, I gotta move back out. And honestly, that's like I guess you could say that's like the max kind of experience I had moving out. Was I moved out, but I ended up kind of having to move back in shortly after because shit got bad with the cat, one, and also two, I was working a part-time with solid hours, and then, you know, I can say this, CVS, the company, a really shitty company, started cutting our hours, and so I started to work less, which means it was a struggle to afford to pay rent or whatever. So I was like, man, fuck this. I got two good reasons to get me out of that place, you know? One, save me money. Two, that I'm not gonna say the cat was actively killing me, but you know, it was pretty bad. I was actively like you know fucking the Geiger counter, bro. I was like actively ticking the Geiger counter every single day, every time I was around that damn cat. That's essentially kind of what it was, you know? So that aside, that aside, you know, it was kind of tough to live out, but I didn't live alone. I had a roommate. I had two actually, although one of them kind of didn't really, one of them was only there, it felt like once a week or something, and then every other day of the week bro was gone. But it was me and my friend, we were just kind of living together for the most part. But like I said, it was me and my friend living together. Now, you know, the current situation that I'm in is like my first venture into like living alone or whatever. And I'm gonna be real with you. It's been a little eye-opening, you know? I remember talking to my brother about it. It was like, you know, it's something I haven't done before, and it's like the most I've done is like, you know, be out of the house for a while, or like, what's it called? When I used to house sit, it was a little bit ago. I remember it was that time I prepped like 7 episodes back to back. I was house sitting for my uncle, and what I did was I would essentially house sit, picks up everything based on the number of charges. Oh, interesting. That's a very interesting item. Okay. But anyway, like I was saying, when I was spending the week at my uncle's, like dog sitting, it was kind of different because almost every day I would end up just doing a 20-minute drive to my parents' place, you know, to my place, so I can like just spend the time with my parents. So like either A, I didn't have to myself cook food, I can eat a homemade meal from my mom, or B, I would kind of just, you know, spend time with my parents. So it was like, you know, it's different if we're talking comparisons, because this is like I got no one kind of sort of deal, you know what I mean? That's really what it's feeling like right now is just kind of like I got, weird to say, but it's like I don't have anyone to yap to. I don't have anyone to shoot the shit with or whatever, you know? Just kind of just alone in a weird aspect sort of deal. And it's definitely had me thinking about some stuff, you know? I was telling my brother yesterday, I was like, you know, just thinking about, you know, things like the future or whatever, and he was like, like, what about the future? Like, if that's okay. So I'm guessing he was thinking about like relationships or something, which is funny because I was talking about that on the Isaac episode, but not really what I meant. More so when he asked me, when I told him, I was kind of just talking about like living alone. You know what I mean? I'd like to live in a nice house, you know, alone, preferably. That's what I was thinking, at least. But then, you know, thinking about it, it's kind of like it's weird, you know, fucking the water is wet type of shit, but it's lonely being alone. And honestly, little eye-opening, you know. I don't necessarily think I'd be fully against it, but it definitely had me kind of like I told him, considering the future, you know, like it's gonna be tough moving out or whatever, but I'm gonna have to learn. Obviously, you know, I feel like anyone would have to learn to move out and live alone, but I mean, still, you know. You can't. That sucked. You guys saw what that did? The random item effect just like respawned enemies, and like I don't think anything good happened. That is a random item effect, I guess. So that's something. I don't know. I wouldn't really call this item that good, actually. I thought everything jar could be solid, but it's not really the greatest, it seems. Whatever. But I mean, yeah, you know, it's definitely had me thinking about one, kind of like living alone. Wonder what that's gonna be like for a future Tony. You know, if I ever do somehow manage to live alone, like I've said before, it's housing kind of sucks. I could not afford to live alone. I'd have to live with a roommate. But you know, push came to shove or something. Maybe prices went down, or I started earning drastically more or whatever, and I was able to live alone, then that kind of has me thinking, you know, how would that be like for me? You know, it's a really eye-opening experience, I guess, sort of deal. Not to get all existential or whatever, but it was just like a really eye-opening experience, you know, as to what the future may hold for a young Tony, one might say. You know what I mean? It definitely had me curious. But it is what it is. You know? It is what it is. But it's just, one, it was nice to have my brother's company and just chill out, you know, talk. But also, it was nice to have the talk to begin with, you know? In a kind of weird aspect. I'm gonna be vulnerable with you guys right here, you know? It's not often I do something like this, but the beauty of internet anonymity and such, you know? People feel more comfortable saying things on the internet when they know it's gonna be anonymous. You guys, you know my name. I've said it multiple times. You know, shit, some viewers might even know me because like some of my friends have told me that they actively watch my YouTube videos, and one kind of not worries me, but it's like, oh, you watch me, you know? Ha 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 ha. I hope I don't say anything weird or whatever to like throw them off, you feel me? But, you know, to be vulnerable here, I don't know if maybe y'all feel the same way. But it's just, you know, like I said, the beauty of internet anonymity or whatever. I feel like in, maybe not, I don't want to say this day and age or whatever. Maybe it's just a me thing. But I feel like I don't really have anyone to confide in, sort of deal. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys kind of feel the same way. Maybe might be thinking, Tony, you're not alone on this. If true, then I definitely feel a little bit more at ease in that aspect. But, you know, I also, if there is a sort of like response to this, what I'm saying here, I want it to be genuine, and I want to know, like, you know, is it just me, or is it other people feel this way? You know? But I feel like I don't really have anyone to kind of confide in, to tell stuff to, you know what I mean? I have had this sort of mentality. I remember saying this to a friend one time, because me and him, it was actually, used to be my roommate. It was me, him, and another friend of ours. We were just hanging out at his place. He invited us. And we were just kind of like shooting the shit, you know. He made us dinner, we were eating, and while we were just talking about like life and shit, you know, talking mainly kind of about like his new place and like, you know, moving out, futures plans, you know, stuff like that. I kind of let him know, because I forgot how we got on the topic. We were talking about stuff, and I was just letting him know, like, you know, like that I kind of feel that way. I feel like there's not really anyone to kind of, I feel like I don't have anyone to tell stuff, you know what I mean? Like if I'm feeling a certain way, or if I have a thought about something, you know, this, that kind of sort of deal. A part of me feels kind of like, you know, I don't really have anyone to talk that shit out with or whatever. And could be bad, I don't know. I haven't really, me personally, I haven't really formulated an opinion on if that's a good or bad thing, because I'm gonna be real with y'all, kind of been like that my whole life. I don't really kind of tell people shit, you know? I feel like only recently have I started doing that in like these Isaac episodes or whatever. But even then, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's something that I like do often or something like that, you know what I mean? I feel like it's rare in the Isaac episodes that I not get in my feelings, because I feel like that's the wrong term, but like, you know, I open up and I tell you guys about this or about that, you know? It's, I don't know, just kind of something that I've had going on like my whole life or whatever, you feel me? Where I just don't feel like, I don't know if it's like a trust thing or whatever, kind of, you know? Maybe I've seen too many stories, or maybe it's just some, I don't want to say trauma or whatever, but like if there's one thing that I can think of, I've told this story before, but I'll quickly recap it. I remember telling a girl that I used to like back in high school how I felt about her. She rejected me. You know, just like, oh, we can still be friends, and I was like, I'm fine with that, you know. I wasn't gonna be mad or whatever. I think I handled the rejection fine. But then, like the next day, a friend of hers came up to me and was like, not antagonizing me. It kind of felt like it though. I'm gonna be dead ass with y'all. But you know, it was like she just kind of was bugging me about the fact that I asked her out or whatever. And I felt kind of not violated, I guess. But I was like, one, okay, she told you. I'm not against that. She does whatever the hell she wants, obviously. But like, I wish you wouldn't be such an asshole about it, you know? And I don't think that's necessarily trauma or traumatic, but it's an experience I had where it's kind of like, well, this happened to me during a formative time in my life that I now maybe feel a little risque telling people certain things because I don't want them to tell someone else a certain thing. You feel me? You know what I mean? I don't want to tell you this if there's a chance you're going to tell someone else this, and now I'm going to not look bad or whatever, but like, you know, because I don't know what the hell's going to happen with them. You know what I mean? Me personally, I like to keep most of my life private, at least to people that I know close in real life. And also, I mean, I haven't told you guys everything about my life. But I mean, who does? Truth be told, I guess. But you know, the kind of like I was saying there, but like the whole sort of deal is, I don't want to tell someone something just for that person to tell someone else, what I said, because I don't know their intentions. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. What the fuck is going on? Oh, what the shit? What the hell? 20 minutes, 37 seconds. I'm writing that down. I gotta show my friends this later. What the hell? My apologies, y'all. I had to freaking... I had to. You might be thinking, Tony, did you have to? Yes. Y'all saw that. That was a never before seen Isaac like moment. What the fuck was going on? I have to show my friends that later. But anyways, like I was saying, I don't want to tell someone something just for them to maybe tell someone else. And it's not that I don't want my business being out there, because sometimes I can kind of care less, But it's more so I don't know what the hell they're gonna do with that info, you know what I mean? That's the kind of worrying part. It's something uncertain to me. It's something out of my hands. And I'm gonna be real. It's, I kind of don't necessarily trust people enough to kind of have that knowledge about me, you know what I mean? So I guess that's kind of where the whole issue stemmed from, or whatever, you know? That might be where this whole issue stems from, is from that one moment that happened to me in high school or whatever. Maybe, I don't think there's really a guaranteed way to know. It's kind of just more so all we can really do is look at the factors and maybe decide what could be the closest sort of deal. But regardless of all that, I'm rambling about. It's just, it's struggling to think of the words because I kind of forgot what the hell I was going with this. But yeah, it's what's the word? I'm lost. I'm keeping a stack with y'all. I'm lost. I don't know how I managed to do it, but I managed to lose whatever point I was talking about here. Is he the greatest Isaac player of all time? Maybe, Damn, just missed it. Let's go negative. But anyways, I forgot what the hell I was talking about, which kind of sucks because I felt like I was maybe not on a roll, but I thought I was, at least going somewhere with what the hell I was talking about. Fucking was talking about living alone, got vulnerable or whatever, but I forgot what the hell I got vulnerable about. Give me a second. Alright, my bad, y'all. I also moved my microphone because I realized I was kind of a little loud. But, yeah. I remember I had to pause the recording so I could, check what the hell I was talking about. But I remember. I was talking about how I don't really feel like I don't have anyone to kind of really speak to or talk to or whatever, you know what I mean? Kind of sort of deal. I feel like it was nice to kind of open up to my brother about, kind of how it felt to be alone the past fucking week or whatever, because it's not something that I necessarily do often, you know what I mean? And I don't know why I don't do it often, but I kind of know why. Journal or whatever, I guess. There's ways to get around not liking talking to people or whatever, I think. But for me, it's kind of follows that sort of deal where it's like I don't really have anyone else to kind of speak some of these things on, you know? and it's kind of like a. It's kind of like a feels bad man sort of situation, you know? Because it's just I don't know. Ow! What the fuck? What an a-hole! What a dickhead. Well, I mean, yeah. Didn't have much to speak about in that aspect, so it's I kind of keep a lot of those feelings either A, close to me, or maybe I just fucking snap or whatever, you know? Nah, I don't fucking snap. Like, honestly, the closest thing I could really say to feeling something like that was like, I want to say it was about a couple days ago, maybe. Couple days ago, fucking, you know, house to myself, alone, don't know what the fuck I'm really doing other than just clocking into work, clocking out, and then just kind of relaxing, quote unquote relaxing the rest of my day, even though I don't really have a schedule or whatever. I just fucking hop on the game and then forget as the passage of time, you know, passes by or whatever. Record my Isaac episode. I forgot to add that. But I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I felt like a form of, I don't really know how to describe it. I don't think I was like feeling bad or whatever. I don't know. But it was this weird feeling of like, I'm in VC right now. I don't want to be here. Like, I just want to fucking, like, honestly, I just want, I hopped in the shower and I just fucking, I was just standing in the shower fucking doing a whole bunch of nothing, bro. Like, not really relaxing, because I felt like weirdly stressed in a way, you know what I mean? I was just thinking, honestly, if we're being real here, I kind of just like stood in the shower and I was just like thinking about like my life and shit. What the hell am I doing, sort of deal. I don't know, it just like kind of hit me out of nowhere. And I was like, man, I really don't want to be in VC right now. I kind of just want to, I wouldn't even fucking call it relaxing, bro. You know, I'm gonna be dead ass. I wouldn't even call what I did relaxing. It was more so stressful, kind of. This would give us Seraphim, which is really good. But the mind is also really nice. Let's go Seraphim, why not? I don't know why I bombed him. He didn't give me anything. Oh well, whatever. But I mean, yeah, it was just, I don't know how to describe it, bro. And I feel weird describing it to y'all because like, I don't really know what the best way to put it into words is. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm kind of yapping about nothing. And it makes me kind of feel bad because it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Tony? You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like a trust sort of deal, but like, I don't really want to, I feel like the only person that I can truly trust with my life, you know, it might be weird to say or whatever, because like, you would think, oh, it'd be your friends or whatever, Tony, but they've never done anything to like show me they can't be trusted, you know what I mean? But I don't know, if it just felt nice to talk about that with my brother. Like that's been my day one, you know what I mean? That's my bro, dare I say. So I don't know, maybe it was just different because like I've known the motherfucker my whole life, sort of deal. I'm not sure. I genuinely, I couldn't put a name. Like, I couldn't put a term to it or whatever. But it's just, it's got me thinking, you know? That's kind of all I really gotta say, is that it's just, I've been thinking, you know? how, you know, what am I gonna do? Not really what am I gonna do, but like, what's the word I'm thinking of, man? I feel like I'm losing my train of thought here. What does the future fucking hold? What does the future hold for a young Tony? And what the hell am I gonna do if I ever do live alone, you know? I'm like, obviously I'm gonna have to like learn tricks of the trade or whatever kind of sort of deal. I'm gonna have to get better at doing this, get better at doing that. I know how to do my own laundry. I know how to cook for the most part, you know? I got a couple recipes that I like got down pat, but I feel like I haven't really been experimenting or learning too much more. And also, I feel like a lot of my recipes kind of lack, not flavor, but they lack veggies. So that's why I did the whole like chicken pot pie thing, because that shit is packed with vegetables. Chicken pot pie got fucking what? Got carrots, peas, celery, onion, mashed potatoes. You know, I'm out here. I got a whole, what's the shit I'm thinking of? You know, like I'm out here doing it, one might say. But even like, I mean, I survived, obviously. I fucking survived the past week. But a part of me still feels like if I had to do this the rest of my life, you know? Like if I had to do all this alone, no help, no one to talk to besides just talking on Discord. But I mean, let's be real here. Talking on Discord versus talking to someone in real life, there's like a huge fucking difference, you know what I mean? But yeah, like I was saying, like, I'm not even joking when I say this. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about, like, yeah, I survived the past week. I'm doing pretty solid for myself. But if I had to do this long term, you know, could I do it for a whole year? I'm gonna be real. A part of me thinks I would lose my shit, dog. I'm gonna be fucking dead ass. And it's not that I can't cook for myself. I can't, you know, provide for myself. I can't clean for myself. I got the house fucking, I got the house goddamn spotless right now. Dishes done. All that sort of shit, you know? But I mean, I've always had respect for my mom. I'll say this. I've always had respect for my mom for cleaning around the entire house, you know, doing what she does. How she manages to keep the house so clean while also having a whole ass full-time job, you know. It's I respect her greatly. I respect my mother greatly. And definitely had my ass thinking by the time not by the time I got here, I guess you could say, but like, you know, I've been fucking thinking like it's I can do all these things for myself, you know. I can clean for myself. I can wash dishes. I can cook food, make a meal that lasts the entire fucking week, you know. That's not the issue. Doing the act of doing it is not the issue, but the act of keeping it up, that's where I'm like, I don't know if I got that dog in me for that, you know what I mean? And like I'm saying, the fact that my mom managed to do it all, like she is a strong woman, brother. And I mean, I've already, like I said, I already respected my mom for doing all this, but thinking about it now, it's a respect that I can't even quantify anymore, you know? It's just so insane. But I mean, like, that's, yeah, bro. Not really much I can kind of say else besides that. You know? How do y'all do this? If there is anyone out there, you know what I mean? If there's anyone out there that's like, not in my scenario, I guess one would say, but like, you know, you live alone, you gotta do it all alone. I guess I'm gonna be real. I guess in that scenario, I can kind of see where, like, not the appeal of a relationship, because I feel like the way I speak about relationships is that it's like transactional sort of deal, you know, like, oh, I'd want to get in a relationship so I can have someone to do all this shit for me. Fuck no, you know, that's not the way it works, brother. I don't know, man. Like I said, it's not the act of doing it that's the hard part. It's the act of, like, keeping it up, and honestly, doing it alone. Going it alone is kind of the fucking, like, not, it's weird to say this, but annoying, you know? That's the annoying part. Like, if I had to cook food every day for the rest of my life by myself, my mom was like, Tony, I'm not gonna cook for you anymore, you have to now make all your own meals. I'd be like, you know what, that sucks, but fine, I would undertake that task and I could, you know, I would survive. But a good part would at least be knowing where it's like don't worry, like, you're not gonna be alone though, I'll be here to talk or whatever. I'm just not gonna make you the food anymore, or something like that, you know? Then I'm like, that seems fine, you know? That's fine by me. I'm gonna fucking die. Oh, fuck. Whatever, is what it is. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be weird to say this, and I really do think it's gonna be weird to say this, because it's not something I like. It's not feel comfortable or whatever, but it's like, you know, I've been going it alone my whole life so far, kind of fine. But now that I'm like truly alone, like, you know, for a week and a half, pretty much, it, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just straw that broke the camel's back sort of deal, you know? Whatever. Anyways, I'm fine. But, you know, I'm fine. It's just, you know, it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I'll get through it. Anyways, I want to thank y'all for watching. If you guys did enjoy, greatly appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good day and or good night, depending on the time reviewing this, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace out.